This is a video that I'm almost guaranteeing will result in many people think that I'm saying something that I'm actually not saying. So, big disclaimer, big warning here. If you're mad at me or you think I've completely lost my mind by the end of this video, it might be because you're assuming some things that I'm saying or misinterpreting what I am saying. So please do try to hear me out in this video and understand where I'm coming from and why I'm trying to push you guys a little bit more to think deeper about your sync licensing careers and maybe challenge some of the assumptions that you have about this business, because this is the kind of challenges that I had to face really early on in my career. And because I challenged myself to think differently about this business, it's what allowed me to turn it into full-time income. If I had stayed really rigid and held on to some just like fundamental beliefs about what I should or shouldn't do with my music, I don't think I would have gotten where I am today. I just don't think that my path would have carved out for me. I think I would have been sitting more on the sidelines, holding on to maybe a lot more of my publishing and rights and copyrights and all that kind of stuff, but missing out on essentially an entire career of getting placements and doing some awesome things. And of course, leading to this really awesome channel and cool things that I'm doing with Sync My Music. So please hear me out here. Okay, so this is a tutorial, not a tutorial, a poll, excuse me, that I put out on my YouTube channel just about a week ago. And if you guys are not subscribed to my channel, you're not going to be seeing these polls and not being a part of it. So please do hit that red button below and subscribe to this channel. I put out videos every single week, and I put out polls pretty much on a weekly basis because I like to keep the conversation going even when my videos aren't being uploaded and even when there's not any new comments to reply to. I really like to just keep going back and forth with you guys. So this was just a hypothetical I put out just to see where you guys were at with this question. So the question was, someone offers to pay you a one-time fee to take complete ownership of one of your tracks, meaning that they will earn all the fees, all the royalties, everything that happens with your track moving forward from that point on. And how much do you think that would be worth? So if somebody, just a library, somebody off the street, somebody on YouTube, it doesn't matter who, and they say, hey, I love this one track you got, I would pay you some money for that. But that means that you would never earn any sync fees and you would never earn any royalties at all moving forward. That you would basically transfer the ownership of that song completely over to this person. How much is that worth? Okay, 100, 250, 500, or over $1,000. Now, obviously, as you can see from the poll, the vast majority of you guys just wouldn't do it. No matter what, it seems like, because over $1,000, that opens up to $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. So I wanted to keep that last one a little bit open to, it could be more than $1,000. But even with this higher price tag for a song, a lot of you guys just said you wouldn't do it. Now, the reason why I think most, and I put this poll out in Sync Academy, and basically the same results. I was kind of just testing to see if there was any differences, but it's about the same in Sync Academy. Now, I think a lot of producers are saying they would never sign over a track, never do a complete buyout of one of their works because it feels icky. It feels like you're sort of, pardon the phrase, whoring yourself out a little bit, right? You're creating all this music, original content, and then instead of you owning, controlling, deciding where that track goes, earning the sort of money from it, you're basically taking a one-time fee and sort of like selling your baby. It's kind of what it sort of feels like, right? You're selling your baby off to this person, and then they can do whatever they want with it. They can put it in stuff you don't agree with. They could also sell it to somebody else that you don't want to have ownership of your track. So you really are losing a lot of control in that situation. And it also just feels probably just a little icky having somebody else taking ownership of your music. And I think that's more of an emotion than a reason. Okay, so that's what I want to explore in this video. And again, please remember, I am not saying in this video that you should sell your music and you should do a buyout and you should sell it to people for a certain amount. I'm not telling anybody to say that. If you feel that I'm saying that, then you are misinterpreting what this video is about. I'm just inviting you to think about this in a deeper way and not just immediately go with the sort of feeling that comes across. And the reason why I'm harping on this is because the same feeling came to me when I first went to a library and they said, all right, great, we're going to sign you. You get to keep your writer's share, but we keep the publisher share. And this icky feeling came over me. I was like, ooh, signing over publishers and not controlling my publishing and not earning any money off of my publishing. I don't know if I like that. It just feels a little like kind of selling out or just losing too much control, or maybe I'm giving too much over, and should I really be doing that? So I struggled with that for a long time in the beginning of my sync licensing career. It took me a while to finally reframe that and understand that I was not selling out to a library. I was instead creating a partnership and enabling them to be profitable and to monetize my music so that they wouldn't get paid unless I got paid at the same time. So essentially, I'm creating a partnership by allowing them to take control over that publishing. So by reframing it in this way, it allowed me to move forward in this business and to not see it as this icky feeling where I'm constantly just sort of throwing my content out to people and just not taking care of it and being just sort of like loose with my sort of intellectual property. That's not at all how I started feeling about it as I moved further into the business and started seeing royalties and placements and people actually pitching my music and being advocates for me. It was a really, really cool feeling. Okay, so that's where my thinking had to evolve and move forward. Same thing with this sort of an issue. Okay, so this is not going to be a common thing that many of you are ever going to come across. Okay, I've come across this maybe once or twice in my entire 14 years in this business. So you probably won't even come across somebody that will want to do this, but you may. But I just wanted to throw up the numbers for you guys and just show you what you would be saying no to. So, of course, $100 a track, not a lot of money, and that probably isn't going to be worth it for a lot of people. But as you guys may know, I've always told you guys to try to shoot for this sort of 2 to 3 tracks a week. It's probably the pace you want to keep up with to make music licensing your full-time job in the time span between 2 to 5 years. So if you're not, you're creating 1 track a week, 1 track every 2 weeks or 1 track a month, you're just going to be stacking up more and more years ahead of you to try to get to the point where you're doing this full time. At least in my strategy, it is a numbers game. We don't want to just throw out crap, but we do want to have a large number of tracks that are solid that can serve the purposes and the needs of many clients within a library or two. And that's really basically what my big numbers strategy game has been in my career. And I see it working for other producers as well, because not every placement is going to get you thousands of dollars. Many of them are going to be hundreds or maybe tens or even pennies. But if you have a large number of high quality tracks with quality libraries, they can all stack up. Okay, so let's just go over some of these numbers and just see what you would be earning if somebody were to throw you this kind of money per track as you produce them. Okay, so somebody comes up to you and they say, all right, I'll give you $100. Well, yeah, so let's say we're going to do on average 2.5 per week, right? We're going to know between 2 and 3 tracks per week. 2.5 times 52 weeks in a year. So we're at 130 tracks a year. Somebody says, I'll give you $100 for that. $13,000 for a year. You can't even really live on that. That's probably a no-no. Okay, so let's go up to 500 though. So what did we have? It was 130 tracks per year times $500. If somebody were to throw you that kind of money, $6,500. You can live on $6,500. I don't care where you live in the United States. You should be able to figure out a way to live on $6,500. So, of course, that cuts off all the future royalties. So maybe there's not a lot of room in $6,500 to invest in the future. But you definitely could live, and you could quit your day job, and you could just be doing this full time. And you are giving up the potential future royalties, but you're also getting in exchange for that guaranteed money now, right? It's not a bad income, right? $6,500 to just be making music. I think most people watching this, put a thumbs up if like this video, if you would actually take that kind of an income. And then you go up to $1,000, 130 times 1,000. Many of you guys can already do this before me. 130 grand a year to be making music. That's enough money to pay all of your bills plus invest something, whether it's the market or whatever you want to do, real estate, and provide for passive income on your own terms in another place, maybe not through royalties, but another way. So this is the kind of thing where I want you guys to, again, think about this and not be so rigid in your black and white of like, I will always hold on to my music no matter what. I mean, I had members in Sync Academy saying, I wouldn't even take $1,000. I wouldn't even take $5,000 for my tracks. And I'm thinking, man, I'm 14 years in this business right now. If somebody were to come to me and email me after this video and say, Jesse, I love your music. I love what you're doing. I'll pay you $5,000 to make a track tomorrow. I'm pretty much going to say yes to them. And I've been in this for 14 years. So for me, about a day's worth of work, maybe 2, maybe 3, if it's a really complex track or they have a lot of, requirements of what they're looking for. But $5,000 for a couple of days of work, I'll take that. Like, that's a really nice paycheck. And I'm not above that. I will definitely take that. So I kind of see it as not so much of a, a lot of people see it as, well, if you sell out all of your rights and you transfer ownership, then you're basically just like a slave and you have no control and that kind of thing. It's one way to look at it. It's definitely one framework, and some people, that's where you want to stay. I try to just try new frameworks and see which one maybe can work for me. And for me, here's how I see it. I love making music. Somebody's going to pay me to make music. I'm already winning, okay? No matter what the situation is, if I'm transferring the rights, if I'm not transferring the rights, I try to always keep myself in that grateful state of mind that I am doing something I love, and it's good enough that somebody wants to actually throw me money for it so I can pay my bills. Like, wow, that's really awesome. Okay, that's really cool. Second of all, I'm creating something out of nothing and then selling it, okay? I don't even have to go, like if I were selling birdhouses, I'd have to go buy the nails, buy the wood, get the saw, get the paint, do the wood chiseling, everything I'd have to do. I'd have to go get all the supplies and do all the manual labor, and then I'd have to upsell to try to make it work. So yes, I did. I guess you could say I bought my computer and my software and my hardware and keyboard and all that kind of stuff. But that's been long and paid for, and I've definitely recouped on that many, many, many years ago. So I'm basically playing on the house's money right now, and I'm going to create something between my ears, through my fingers, into this weird thing called a computer DAW system, and somebody's going to pay me $5,000 for that. That's a miracle. That's literally, I see that as me creating income out of nothing. So to me, that's something I'm definitely going to consider and be open to. And zooming out of the sort of black and white thinking of, well, are they going to take ownership or this and that? I'm not saying to ignore that. Again, please, I'm not saying ignore that. And if you still feel that you would never do this, keep never doing it. I at least hope in this video I've invited you to just get out of the black and white thinking about things, especially when the publishing and the copyrights and the ownership and that kind of thing. Try to get out of that black and white thinking that I'll be embarrassed if I do this, or I'll feel like ashamed if I have to do this. Just before you say no to an offer or a deal or something like this that comes across your way, just invite yourself to get out of what your initial assumption was, what your initial emotion was. For the most part, it's an emotion that we have. And question and second guess, is this actually a bad deal? Another example that comes to mind, some of you guys know I talk about it many times, is I usually tell you guys, never ever compromise on your writer share. And that's for 80-90% of the time you're working with a library for the first time. Definitely you should be keeping 100% of your writer share, which is half of the total income, right? But I've definitely compromised 50% on a few deals with libraries and been very happy that I did it, okay? And the only reason I did that is because I got out of the black and white thinking that, I'll never sacrifice my writer share. It's a terrible idea. No, there was definitely a recent situation with a library I've worked with that said, Jesse, we want you to create a whole bunch of rock cues for a custom client, and they're basically going to guarantee use all of our cues, and my cues included, all the cues that the library sends them. They're going to exclusively use all of our cues in their upcoming programming for basically a year or two. So you can guarantee you're going to be getting hundreds, if not thousands, of new placements. However, they want to keep the publishing. This client wants to keep the publishing. So that means the library and Jesse have to share the writer share. We have to cut in 50-50, okay? Not ideal, but man, I could say to them, nope, my black and white thinking and my icky feeling came up. I will say no to that because I always keep my writer share no matter what. And then what did I miss out on? My royalty statements now are pretty much twice as long because of that one deal, right? My statements are already pretty long and really, really awesome. I'm very thankful for that. But with this one deal, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new placements are pouring in every single quarter now, and they're continuing on to this day. And this was a 2-year-old deal, and we just actually got notice the other day that they're going to want more because they've been loving what we're supplying them, and they actually now want to start paying us upfront fees as well. Before, we didn't earn any upfront fees for these kind of things, and now there's going to be upfront money to keep composing this. So if I had my black and white thinking cap on and I just said no to it, I'm missing out on all this opportunity. So please just open up a little bit and think about things in a more holistic way, and not always just go with your initial gut reaction or what you think other people think you should be doing, because that's nonsense. It's one of these things where when I see these people that are, online, they'll rail against, like, let's say Netflix. That happened a few years back because Netflix was never paying any back end money, only paying upfront sync fees of, a couple grand basically for bigger placements. And a lot of composers were like, this is unacceptable. It has to be royalties. You can't just do this. You can't just do that. And people were asking me to get involved with like a campaign like that. And I'm just like, I cannot get involved with stuff like that because that might be a decent answer for some composers, including me. So if Netflix wants to pay me a couple of grand here and there to do some music for them, in my current situation in life, I'm not against that. I'm not angry at that. Okay. I've got my royalties. I'm doing a lot of TV stuff to build the royalties, but upfront money is also a big part of my income. And I'm not going to be too cool or too above it to, not take on a gig like that. So I can't get involved with black or white. It's got to be this kind of deal or that kind of deal. We're all in different places in our lives. Some of you are brand new to this and you'll work for nothing. You'll work for free. You're hungry. Some of you have been at this for a while and you've got now sort of minimums that you have to have. It's some kind of a deal that you feel is worth your time. And both are okay. Like there's no one wrong way or one right way. As long as you're thinking for yourself and you're making deals and agreements that are congruent with your own values, what else could you ask for? That's pretty much it. And that's all I'm trying to help you guys do is figure out what your values are. Help you decide that, not me. Don't look to me and say, well, Jesse do this, would Jesse not do this? Who cares what I would do? That's my brain. I go to sleep with it at night. So I got to live with my choices. You got to live with yours. So just try to think about this stuff in a way that's really helpful and useful for you. So I hope this was useful. I hope this was challenging in some way. And if I did sort of rub some of you the wrong way, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to read them.